Good evening, student. Today we are going to see the fourth unit, supplementary with the photographer. It was written by Stephen Leacock. Okay. See the author introduction. Stephen Leacock. About the author, Stephen P.H. Butler Leacock, FRSC, 1869-1944, was a Canadian teacher, political scientist, writer, and humorist. The full name of Stephen Leacock is Stephen P.H. Butler Peacock. He was born in 1869 and died in 1944. He was one of the Canadian teacher and also the scientist and the writer and humorist. Humorist is nothing. It's a comedy actor. It's comedy writer. Okay. He is worked as a teacher, scientist, and also writer and also humorist. He was educated Upper Canada College in Toronto and the University of Toronto, from which he graduated in 1891. And also he was educated in Upper Canadian College. It was located in Toronto. And also he finished his graduation the same city, Toronto, at the university in 1891. He received a fellowship in political economy and took his PhD in 1903. And also Stephen Leacock was got some award in the award of fellowship for political economics, and also he finished his PhD in 1903. Between the year 1915 and 1925, he was the best known English speaking humorist in the world. In the between period of 1915 and 1925, he is the one of the best English speaking humorist. He is speaking the English through the humorist. He is the one of the best person in 1915 and 1925. He is known for his light humor along with the criticism of people's follies. Follies is nothing false, and also the follies were the people were speaking the some false. He criticized that false like using the light humor. Sunshine sketches of a little town, Arcadian adventurous with the ideal rich economic prosperity in the British Empire, the dawn of Canadian history, moonbeams from the larger fluency, the unsolved riddle of social justice, my discovery of England, wet wit and dry humor are some of his brilliant works. These are the Stephen Leacock's some works. Okay, now see the supplementary with the photographer. Before going to the story, just see the introduction. Here is a story with the photographer where the narrator visits a studio to have his photo taken. So the author went to the narrator went to the studio to take his photograph. His experience with the professional photographer turns out to be an unforgettable one. While went to the in the studio, he had some what he get from that studio. It was unforgettable in his life. What they are, just look out the story. I when my photograph taken, I said. The photographer looked at me without enthusiasm. So I refers to the narrator, the Stephen Leacock. Now the Stephen Leacock went to the photograph to take photos, and he simply went to the studio and said to the photographer, I want to take photo like that. The photographer looked at narrator without enthusiasm, nothing, without any happy. Simply he looked the author. He was a drooping man in a grey suit with the dim eye of natural scientist. Actually, the photographer was a drooping man. Drooping man is nothing, little bit bent man. It means short person. In a grey, he was wearing the grey suit. Grey suit is nothing. Ash color suit is nothing. Overcoat with a dim eye. In his eye was little bit dim of a natural scientist. Looking his appearance, his looks as a scientist, but there is no need to describe him. But the author did not willing to describe the photographer, because everybody knows what a photographer is like, but everyone know how the photographers are, how their images are like that. He told, sit there, he said, and wait. Simply the photographer came and looked at him without enthusiasm, and simply he answered, "Sit there and wait few minutes." Like that, he informed and entered into the room. I waited on her. That time the narrator is waiting the waiting hall for 1 hour and read the ladies while the waiting in the room. At that time he took some magazines. For what are the magazines he took in his hand means the Ladies Companion. It was written in 1912. All the magazines was the old magazines. The girls magazine for 1902 and the infant journal for 1888. I began to see that I had done an unwarrantable thing in breaking in on the privacy of his man's scientific pursuits with a face like mine. So that time he was waiting for 1 hour in the waiting hall. With don't He is not willing to waste his time. So he took some magazines. It was the magazines are for old magazines. He read finished everything. After that, just he think himself, why should we wait here? I had done an unwarrantable thing. It means he think in his mind, uh, I went, the author went in the wrong way. Like that he felt in breaking in on us the privacy of this man's scientific pursuit with a face like mine. Actually his face was something different, but even though he knows about his face, his frame, everything, but wrongly I involved to the photographer privacy. Like that he felt. Okay, see next. After an hour, the photographer opened the inner door. Finally, the photographer opened the inner door and came there. And come in, he said severely. Now the photographer called me to enter into the room. I went into the studio. Sit down, said the photographer. And he ordered me to sit down in the photographer. Like that, the narrator told. I sat down in a beam of sunlight, filtered through a sheet of factory cotton hung against a frustrated skylight. Okay, and also the narrator obeys his words. He sat on a place. It was the beam of sunlight through the. It was filtered through the sheet of factory cotton because there is a one window. In the window, they want to cover the window sunbeams. Say the photographer hung a factory cotton to cover the sunbeams, but through the cotton the sunbeam enter into the room, and also the center part of the room, the narrator sat in the room. Then the photographer rolled a machine into the middle of the room and crawled into it from behind. The photographer rolled a machine. Rolled is nothing, pulling one machine into the middle of the room because he want to take photo. So he rolled the machine into the middle of the room and crawled into it. Crawled is nothing. He was already some short portion, no. That's why he was crawling into it. Into it means into the machine from behind of the machine he crawling. Then he was only in at a second, just time enough for one look at me, and then he was out again, tearing at the cotton sheet and the window panels with a hooked stick, apparently frantic for light and hair. Now the photographer was just looking a second, not for more than times. He was justly look through the photo through the machine only for a second, just time enough for one look at me. Just he looked for a second, and then he was out again. And then he went out of the machine, tearing at the cotton sheet and the window panels with a hooked stick. Hooked stick is nothing like cookie. He took on hooked stick, just tearing the cotton sheet and windows panels because the sunbeam was glaring to his photo. So just remove that, just pull it aside. Apparently frantic for light and air because the photographer need for light and air, so that he madly removed the frantic is nothing, madly he removed the just push aside the light and air, the screen. Then the crawled back into the machine again and drew a little bag cloth over himself. This time he was very quiet in there. So again second time he crawled back into the machine and he drew a little bag cloth over himself. He takes some black cloth and covered his face. Just you see the picture. This is the photographer. He covered his face with the black cloth, and this time he was very quiet. That time, first time he went for just for little 1 second, and then came out. But this second time he was very quiet, and there I knew that he was praying, and I kept silent still. So Arthur felt he think it means the photographer is going to praying something before taking photo. He got some prayer like that. He felt, but so that he was kept silent still. The author also keeping silent there in the sheet. When the photographer came out at last, he looked very grave and shook his head. After that, finally the photographer came out of the machine again. He looked very grave and shook his head. He looked at the narrator. It was this time he was looking very grave. Grave is nothing seriously and shook his head. Just simply shaking his head because it's also not correct position like that. He felt. Okay. The face is quite wrong, he said. Now the photographer said, your face is something quite wrong. Your face is not good. It was wrong. Like that, the photographer informed. I know, I answered quietly. I have always known it. So the narrator answered it. He know everything because his face is not good. He answered quietly. He also answered very silently. I have always known it. This is no for me. Everything about my face. Like that, he simply answered. Then he signed. Signed is nothing. Taking breath. Like in Tamil we call Erumuchi. Then I think he said the face would be better 3 quarters full. Now he said he refers to the photographer said your face would be better 3 quarters full. It means your face is a little bit big compared to others' face. Your face has something big like that. The photographer told to the narrator. I'm sure it would, I said enthusiastically, for I was glad to find that the man had such a human side to him. So the author also accepted that, the narrator, because why he accepted that? He already know about his face. He said enthusiastically, he said happily, yes, you are telling correctly. My face is quite big only, not small. It was very large. I accepted that like that, he told. And for I was glad to find, and also he was very happy to find that the man had been such a sight to him. So would yours, like yours also something different, mean that my face also something be little bit big like that, he answered. In fact, I continued, how many faces one sees that apparently hard, narrow, limited, but the minute you get them 3 quarters full, they get wide, large, almost boundless in. So that narrator simply continued something talking in himself. What he is talking means he saw so many faces. The every faces have something different. Like some face have something hard, not even. Then some faces have narrow. It means a little bit, not big. And then some faces were limited. Limited means just for small faces. And but the minutes you get them 3 quarters of full. But likewise, my face also has something for 3 quarters of full. It means I have something big compared to other faces. My face has something big like that. He informed. They get wide. Some of them get some wide face and then large and almost boundless heel. Have something boundless. There is no end for something face like that. He informed. But the photographer had ceased to listen. But the photographer did not listen. Did not willing to listen the narrator's speech. He stopped his listen. He came over and took my head in his hands and twisted it sideways. I thought he meant to kiss me and I closed my eyes. So finally, the photographer came out of the machine and nearby me and just crawled into me, nearby me, and took my head. Take his hand, took my head, touched my head and hands and twisted it sideways. My just simply he twisting the shaking my head in a side way. I thought, but at the time the author thought, the narrator thought he meant to kiss me because he came close with my eyes, so that the narrator felt the photographer going to kiss me like that. He felt, so he closed his eyes so that the narrator also closed his full eyes. Then, but I was wrong. But the author thinking was wrong. See next. He twisted my face as far as it would go and then stood looking at it. He twisted my face, my head, as much he need. How much he need? Just twisting my face, everything, every side. And after that, he again going to the machine and stood looking through the machine. He signed again. Again he take breathe, loud breathe. And then I don't like that heat, he said. First time he said your face was quite wrong. Your face is something wrong like that. But now he told the photographer told your head is not good. I am not like your head like that. He told. Then he went back to the machine and took another look. Again he went to the machine. Again he started to look. Open the mouth little, he said. He simply said order to the narrator. Just open your mouth a little bit. Just little bit open your mouth. I started to do so. What he is telling, I obey this advice everything. So I am also open my mouth little bit. Close it. He added quietly. Again he said close your mouth like that. And also then I looked again and also I closed it. Then he went to the machine. He looked again. Then ears are bad, he said. Droop them a little more. Now now he ordered, your ears are not good. It was very bad. Just droop them. Droop them is nothing. Just little bit down, little bit move down like that. He told. Droop them a little more. Thank you. Okay, it's enough. Okay, enough. Thank you. Now you are now the eyes. Okay, you are now concentrate your eyes. Just little bit roll them in under the lips. Just your eyelids want to be just roll them. Don't be see in a sadness like your eyelids want to be roll them in your eye like that. See in front. But the hands on the knees and also put your hands in your knees, please, and turn the face just a little upward and also just uh, your face want to be upward, see back above the upward right like that. Yes, that's better. Okay, it's enough like that. He telling some correction. The narrator also what he is telling everything he was changing. Then now just expand the lungs. Okay, now just expand the lungs. It means sit brightly. It means very straightly like that. He informed. So on the hump the neck. Now just hump your neck. Hump is nothing. You will droop your down the neck. That's it. Yes, correct. Just contract the waist, and thrust the hip. Okay, now your waist want to be contact to upward, and your hip want to be thrust upwardly, and the like a elbow now. I still don't quite like the face. Now itself the photographer told, still I don't like your face. Your face is something not good like that to inform. But what he is telling everything was after obeyed. But still the photographer is not like his face. It's just a tryful to full bird. He just said it was not good. Face something different like that. The photographer informed. I swung myself round on the stage. Suddenly, the author got some angry and swung himself and just turned one side of the on the chair. Just simply, he was very angry for the narrator. Stop! I said the emotion, but I think with dignity. Now the author, the narrator, informed. Stop! You are taking photo. It is emotionally he told. So much of angry because he so many times you are telling this person bad things only. He not appreciate me. My face already I know my face is not good, but he was telling my face. He was always describing my face. I'm not willing to hear his words like that. The author got so much of angry. I think with dignity. This face is my face. It's not yours. It's mine. So now he emotionally he replied, this is for my face. It's not. This face is not for yours. I know everything about my face. So don't describe anything like that in front of the photographer. I have lived with it for 40 years and I know it's false. And also I am live my life with this face for 40 years. It means that narrator had 40 years role. And also the narrator know about his face fault. I know it's out of drawing. And also I know everything You are thinking that while drawing in your paper, looking everything was correct place in the correct position like that. It's not like that. My face has something fault, but no, I agree that. But don't disturb my face like that. The narrator informed. I know it is working made for me. I know already everything. I know everything. This face is not made for me, for my body like that. Informed. But it is my face. Even though the face not good for me, but even though the face is for my face, then only one I have. I was conscious of breaking my watch, but I went. That time his face was only for one, not for other faces. He can't replace any other faces. Like that, doctor, the narrator informed. And his voice was something soft in a yeah. Then and such as it is. I have learned to love it and do it. Whatever it is, my face, this is for my face. I have only one face. I am living with this face for 40 years. I love this face so much. Whatever it is, but this is for my face. Like that, he informed. And this is my mouth, not yours. And also, this mouth is for my mouth, not for your mouth. These ears are mine. And if your machine is too narrow, here I started to rise from the seat. Okay, the ears are for mine, not for yours. Don't be describe anything about my mouth and ears. And your machine is too narrow. Your machine only very small. Even though my face is very big, your machine is very small. Here I started to rise from the seat. Okay, I am not willing to take photocopies from you. So now I am going to start. So just rise up from the seat like that. He started to rise from the seat. Snake. Snake is nothing. Now the photo was taken the photographer. The photographer had folded a string. Finally the photographer take the click of string. It means take the sneak sound. The photographer was taken the photo. I had see the machine still staggering from the shock. Now the narrator see that machine. It was still staggering. Staggering is nothing. While taking the photo, after few minutes, the machine takes some vibration sound like that. He is watching that. I think, said the photographer, pursing his lips in a pleased smile, that I caught the features just in a movement and animation. Now the photographer said, I think, pursing his lips. Now just continues his lips, just with happily and smiling, that I caught the features. It means I got your features in your photos. I took that just in a moment of animation with your excitement of photos, with happy moment. I took your photos like that. The photographer informed. So I said bittingly. Now the author said bittingly is not like that. What is future? It means future like that he asked. You didn't think I could animate them. It means you are going to excitement of my photos like that he asked. The narrator asked to the photographer. I suppose, but let me see the picture. Yes, definitely I took the photos with excitement. You want to be see the photo? Just see. Let me see the picture like that he informed. Oh, there is nothing to see yet, he said. Definitely I want to see a photo pictures like that. The author, the narrator informed to the photographer. The photographer suddenly replied, oh, there is nothing to see it. Now you can't able to see the photo. I have to develop the negative first. First of all, I want to develop your negative. After that, saw your photos like that, he informed. Come back on Saturday and I will let you see a proof of it. Okay, you come back to Saturday. I will see your negative. After that, I will make your photos to print them like that. The photographer informed to the author. Okay, student, let me see the continuous story for next class.